welcome back.
Thank you, man. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, and had you on the show two other times now, right?
I think so, yeah.
Two other times?
Yep.
Yeah. Most primal person I've had on the show.
That's how we do it, man.
And I've already asked you all the rapid fire questions probably a million times now, but any books that you've read lately that you're taking a massive mentality shift from or anything like that?
Yeah. Just based on his name. Non-Negotiable by Wes Watson.
Okay.
So Wes Watson spent 10 years incarcerated in California jail. And it's cool. He kind of ties it back into like the Stoic philosophies. He read a lot of books like on manifestation and stuff while he was incarcerated. And he like developed his whole training program and business program while incarcerated. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And one thing that he talked about in there was using regret as like a good tool to get better in life, right? Like if you're going to regret something, that's a really good guidance to not do that thing, which you might regret, right?
Yeah.
And then same thing, looking back at your life, if you regret something, it's a good thing not to repeat in your life either.
Yeah.
So I really like that concept. So that, and then just the discipline and focus it takes. I mean, being incarcerated, not to get involved with crazy shit going on in jail, like in a prison, being locked in the shoe for, I think there was one time they were on lockdown for like 1.5 years almost in the shoe, like maximum security, 1 hour a yard time a day, and he was able to stick to a program, you know what I mean, and continue getting better. So just that discipline and focus was huge and super inspiring, obviously. So yeah, it's a good book, good read.
Cool.
Non-Negotiable, Wes Watson.
Yeah.
Shout out.
I like that. It's reminds me of like this quote by I already forgot, one of the Hindu like gurus, and he talked about like how pain is a good thing. Yeah. And he said pain is the way your body knows not to do something harmful to itself.
Yeah.
You know? That's and dope. If you apply that to life, like why would you do something that's going to hurt you? Right? Like, and so unfortunately, we don't have that sense when we're doing stuff that, you know, isn't literally physically causing harm to our body. Right. But yeah, I always think of that. I'm like, is this gonna harm you or do good to you? You know, and try to, cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But and then also just like talking on discipline as well. I think you're super disciplined. We've been talking a lot about this, but I also thought it was so interesting, and I want to like personally sit down and just like think out this thought more. But I've really been thinking about how life is kind of like very paradoxical, like kind of just conundrum, and like how I think we were saying like as a business owner, a lot of people like really have this like idea of like going into business for themselves because the freedom of time, freedom to take off whenever you want, like no one telling you what to do, you set the rules, and then you become the business owner and you realize, yes, you technically have that right and you could do it, but you really shouldn't. You know, like if you want to be successful, then you better not be waking up late. You better not be taking off. Honestly, like you could take days off when you need it for your mental health and all that, but like you better be getting after it, you know? But how are you liking this?
Bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little shout out to Organifi for those of you who don't know, definitely one of the biggest partners of the show. And we're drinking their Shaga chai called Hard Kill.
Tastes good.
Yeah.
Feeling a little rhythms starting to rise a little bit.
Yeah.
Heart rate up a little bit. I'm pretty sensitive to, I feel it. Feels good.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm kind of the opposite. I really have to pay attention to notice something going on, but
it's good though. Tastes good too. They nailed it.
Yeah. So anyways, Caleb, let's, I want to hear something. I want to hear what a day in your life looks like, from health and nutrition to workout to mental health to family time to like how do you divvy up your time? You're a high functioning person, so like what does it look like, you know?
Yeah, man. Well, it took a while to like build a good rhythm to where I don't burn out. You know what I mean? Because like you said earlier, as building a business, as an entrepreneur, you have freedom, right? And that's freedom to do nothing right? And make no income and make no impact, or that's total freedom for the opposite as well. And so it goes hand in hand. It's like the amount of work, you listen to all Tony Robbins, any successful business people, right? Like there's always like a grind phase. There's always a phase where you have to put in the work, right? Luck favors the hardworking.
Yeah.
And so this past year, like literally moving up to Washington with family, living in an RV, owning that process, and like literally becoming militant about my time has completely changed my habits, changed my income, changed my impact, everything, right?
Wow.
And it's just that going back to that discipline and doing it from a place of what do I really want to create? What am I really trying to create here? Am I trying to change lives? Yes. Like let that be the guidance. Let that be that inner voice, right? It's like continue to be like, okay, abundance, trying to help people, abundance on all levels. You know what I mean? I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but
no, you're good.
From day to day, this past year, living in an RV and having everything just simplified, right? Like diet simplified, things, right? I literally, everything is in storage right now, and I just have minimal things, minimal equipment around me. That's been huge because that's allowed for that mental capacity to be opened up a little bit more and focus more on what I need to get done, what I know I need to get done, and getting that done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Like, shit doesn't do itself. You have to do it. So that's a huge thing is with the entrepreneurial endeavor, and becoming entrepreneur isn't for everybody, and it's not an easy thing to do. Like, of course, manifestation is real. Law of attraction is real. The reticular activating system in the brain is real, but luck favors the hardworking. And where you put that energy, your focus and energy goes to where you think and what you do. And so this past year, man, literally, trying to wake up, try my best to wake up 5:30. That's when the day usually starts. And to be honest, some days I wake up at 5:30, I have some water, and I get to work. Like literally, there were times where this past year, like I wanted to go do some things with the family, right? Like my niece, she's a dancer, and so we went out to Seattle, and it was like a whole day thing, right? And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm getting up at 5. I'm knocking out a bunch of work until we need to leave at noon. Sure enough, I had a 7-hour work day before we even left, and I got a shitload of stuff done. So a couple of books. One, Alex Hormozy, $100 million offers, totally shifted my mind frame around like not having habits become a crutch, right? So like not having routines, having your morning routines become a crutch. Instead, do what you need to do. Let those be your routines and habits, right? Like sure, we want to meditate, we want to, have your water with apple cider vinegar, all these healthy things that we know we need to do. Have maybe a journaling session, things like that. But on the days that you don't do those, and you let that mess up your whole day, then that becomes a crutch, right? It's like, I didn't get this done, therefore my day is shit. And that's just like the all or nothing mindset. And it's like, no, I didn't get this done, but I'm going to get some more stuff done, And another book, Ed Milet, I think it's The Power of One More, his book, or Max Out, one of them, both of them great books. But he breaks apart his days into 3 days. He almost like 3
quarters, right?
Like 3/3. So he breaks up his days into 3 days, and so he's like, no, I got an 8-hour day in the morning, I got an 8-hour day in the midday, and essentially an 8-hour day later on in the day. And therefore you can get a lot done in a day. But I think I'm kind of rambling as far as your question, but it comes back to being present in everything you do. Like whatever you're doing, do it. Right? Really try it. Like that's what I've really been focusing on is like, okay, if I'm going to get up at 5:30 or whatever, get up, be present, have your water, get up, let your body naturally wake up, be present, make some coffee, be present, sit down, get some things done, and just be truthfully being as present as possible when you're doing the things that you're doing. You know what I mean? That way you're becoming a human being and not like the human doing kind of saying, right? and you respond better to like adversity and stuff when you are more present, you know? But usually, I guess to go back on the original question last week, because I keep going all over the place.
No, wake up time usually like 5:30.
5:30, yeah.
Okay.
And then usually get a little work done, have a little snack, and then hit the gym, you know, try to hit the gym, get in the gym around 7:30. Gym or a walk. So usually when the sunset's coming up, definitely try and sync up with that and get out of the house, get the natural light in, everything you talked about on your podcast, right?
Yeah.
Setting that circadian rhythm, because I know that I'm gonna have better sleep and better hormonal release throughout the day and everything. Yeah, go to the gym. Definitely think it's a good way to start the day is getting in your workouts earlier in the day rather than later in the day. There's some studies on that and stuff, but from my experience with helping clients develop better habits, I've noticed better adherence to those habits, to working out, if you just get it done early, rather than later on in the day after work. You might not feel like it, you know what I mean? You might be like tired, stressed out. Adding more stress is going to stress you out even more, so you're less likely to do it. So getting after it, and that, like, I usually have a better day when I work out in the morning.
Yep.
So, and with my goals, you know, this past year I've put on some muscle, and that was a huge goal of mine, is to like get literally in the best physical shape, you know, I could get. And so it's pretty cool. I got there, pretty exciting, but you know, especially being like a college athlete and stuff. And then, you know, truthfully following my calendar too. Like that's been huge. I'll block out in the morning. I have on my calendar wake up time, deep work sessions, right? So if I'm working early in the morning and I'm waking up and I'm getting that deep work in, whether that's writing content, building programs for clients and stuff like that, it's scheduled in, okay? And then gym time is scheduled in. Setting boundaries, right? Like I don't take calls until after about 9:30 or 10. So that's when I usually take coaching calls. I cut that off around 5 at the latest, right? Like I don't want to take calls going into my nighttime routine, which I'll get into in a minute. And then just scheduling in everything I need to get done for the day, right? Like for the week, you know, looking at your week, you know, I have a specific day where I do my client check-ins, right? So that's something I need to get done for my business. I do a specific day, specific hours where I'm doing social media outreach. So reaching out to prospective clients, and engaging with the community there. I have specific times where I'm building my clients' programs, and then just sticking to those, right?
Yeah.
is the key. Yeah. It's sure if it's cool if it's there, but then it's really awesome to stick to them. So that's great. And then as far as family time and stuff, I usually try to, I want to talk about eating habits as well a little bit, because that's something that's been really important, especially as someone who's in control of their environment and working environment, and that being co-mingled, right? In an RV and in a small space. And a lot of people working from home might relate to this too, is you really got to break up your desk time and your food time. You have to. Like, it's so important for health, so important for just peace, right? Like giving yourself a break from work. You get off of lunch and then you show up better for work. So a big habit that I've really been working on this past year, dialing in, is just disconnecting from everything electric and social media and work and everything, and even eating at a totally different spot, you know, and oftentimes outside is best to eat for me, because you're just outside. You get to be with the birds and the sunshine and all that. And then, so pretty much, honestly, just kind of getting after it throughout the day, breaking up my work schedule. So sitting a lot, trying to get up every hour or so to just get in a mini workout, or not even a workout, just a walk or something like that, to make sure we're staying mobile, you know, and just continue moving. And then, at nighttime, turning my phone off. I put my phone on airplane mode around 8 p.m. And that's like a strict rule. And honestly, maybe watch something or read or something like that. So honestly, simple. And like, that's been my theme this whole year, because I want to build something substantial with my business, and I've wanted to build something impactful, you know, and I knew I had to simplify everything else. So like diet, literally like meat, vegetables, rice, for the most part, fruit, you know, a little bit of oats, like very simple. I could count on 10 fingers everything I've been eating this past year, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So making that simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything you want to dive into?
Yeah. So actually, I do.
Yeah.
I think the simplicity.
That's kind of a lot. My bad.
No, you're good. No, don't worry about it. I resonate with that minimalism, that simplicity, because, you know, when you live in a cluttered environment, it's kind of just like, you know, you feel more cluttered internally as well. 100%. And so when you can really, you know, I always think it was like Steve Jobs, you know, he had like, I think he only wore outfit, like the same. Yeah, exactly. And so he spent zero brain power getting ready in the morning, you know, because he realized that his brain was put to better use in doing other things, right? And like, obviously, if you're a fashion person, then it might be different. But like, you know, trying to really make the things that don't need to be so important, not important, you know, just like make it easy, make it quick. And I think even with food, it's like, I don't want people to think like we eat dull food in any way, because really, if you just stick to a few simple things, like you can have variety, but like make it, what I like to do is I like to sometimes do just a one pan meal, you know what I mean? And so it's like a protein of your choice, you know, so you can switch that up, and then a veggie of your choice, you know, and then maybe a salad. And so it's like, you got a full, really well balanced meal. It's gonna be really quick to make and easy, you know, and honestly, like I use similar seasonings each time. So it's just very quick, and that way it's still healthy, but you don't spend a ton of time. And then that way then you look at the stuff that's so important. And you turned me on to the productivity journal, and in that journal, I thought it was neat. There's only like 5 slots of things to do for the day. And to me, I remember when I would make my own list, sometimes it would have like 10 or 15 items on it. And I never really ever finished those lists, you know what I mean? And then them kind of like highlight, or whoever the author is, really highlighting that, look, you can pick 5 things, with the first thing being the absolute most important thing, second thing, you know, third thing, and then like in order, and then designating time slots to doing it, right? And then that way, what I really loved from that was, okay, I understand this is going to take me an hour and a half approximately. Crush it, work at it, get it done, and then take a break. You know what I mean? And that helps you stay much more effective with doing it. So I really like that. And then I'm curious. So like I like what you said about the morning routine, because
one sec real quick, because on the developing the routine and stuff like that, what was really cool about hiring a coach for me was they made me do a time audit. And so they literally made me map out
that's smart.
Pretty much every 15 minutes of the day, like every 20, 15 minutes, what were you doing? What exactly were you doing? And for me, a lot of times I was on social media way too long. And so it's like, obviously, if you're spending time there's some adverse effects, and you're not spending time somewhere else. So that was huge.
It's eye-opening.
You know what I mean? Literally putting it on a spreadsheet. What do I do every single day? Even just for a week or 3 days is life-changing.
That's like when you have your clients send in photos of their food. Food for the first so many months, you know, it makes them more, they realize, oh, wait, hold on. I'm actually going to send a picture of these nachos to my coach. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So that, now I wanted to mention that too, is like, if you're unsure where your time is going, if you're like, oh, I have so much time, or I don't have any time in the day, we all have the same 24 hours. Me, you, freaking Warren Buffett, every successful person out there, you know what I mean? Everyone has the same amount of time. It's just being present, doing the things you need to get done, and not focusing on other things, certain things that aren't serving your goals or who you are to an extent, right? Like, I'm not someone that resonates with sitting there on social media. So I was like, I don't want to do that. So now I'm like strict. Okay, I get on social media. For one, I'm there for a reason, and then as soon as I forget that reason, and if I'm aware of it, I'm off. You know what I mean? Just being hyper aware of that. But yeah, it took me hiring a coach to really do that time audit. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine if someone actually, like, if everyone did a time audit? Sorry.
You good?
Yeah, if someone actually did a time audit of themselves, and also did like a massive deep cleaning of their house, for example, of like not just cleaning, but like actually going through all this stuff in your house. And like, my uncle always says, if you haven't used it in the last year, then toss it.
That's cool.
Which
That's
is
a cool idea.
Sometimes maybe for some things it's not like necessary, but overall it is.
Things.
If you haven't used it in a year, do you really need it? Like you know,
using a damn year.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like those are really strong practices because they help you focus on just what you need. You know what I mean? And it's funny, like even I myself, before I left on my trip, I like packed up a bunch of stuff and put them in boxes. I've like cracked 2 of those boxes because there was like a couple, and then I'm like, my God, there's like all these stuff in here, all these things in here that I haven't even touched, and I've been back like a couple months already, you know. So it's eye opening. I got another question for you, Kayla. Inlet, do you have any other points you want to hit on that?
We could continue on that forever, but
mentality's a big one.
Yeah.
Mentality.
Shout out.
Yeah. Literally though.
It's funny.
Okay, so now I want to move into a little bit of the health. And so I have a question. I want to say, what in your time as being a coach have you seen to be the biggest issue people come across in terms of health, and then maybe B, being like, so the biggest issue people have with health, and then what do you see them struggling with in terms of like trying to then fix that?
Man, I think a lot of times, a lot of people, and myself included, and we've talked about it a little bit too, is just like the overall confusion about kind of like the paralysis by analysis, right? Like social media, Googling everything, YouTube, right? Everything, right? We are constantly shown what is and what's not, what should be, what we need to do, right? And it's really hard to sift through all that and figure out what works for you. Yeah. Because you're like, you get paralyzed. You don't know where to start. Yep. And so that's probably one of the biggest things, especially coming out of the pandemic, starting my business. A lot of people are just, they put on extra pounds they picked up some unhealthy habits over the pandemic, whether it be watching too much TV, drinking too much, whatever it is. And then you just don't know where to start, right? Yeah. You just don't know how to kick it back into gear. So that's probably I'd say one of the biggest things that I think people are finding really confusing with health and wellness overall. And then what was the second part?
Like in those issues, what do you like? For example, I'll just make it simple. Like someone has trouble losing weight, and then like in achieving that goal, what is usually the biggest issue that comes up? Like what's one of the biggest difficulties for people in accomplishing that goal?
I think with that confusion comes a lack of adherence, right?
Okay.
To a diet, right? And it goes a lot too with like crash diets, like paleo and keto and vegan and
Jenny Craig,
and, all kinds of different stuff. Those work, right? But those set you up for failure because what about after that? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think the biggest thing, well, not the biggest thing, but I think a great place to start is to start figuring out how foods make you feel and start figuring out how much food you need to eat as well. A lot of clients that I've been working with are under eating significantly, and they have been for a long time. And then that goes into, right, we hear OMAD, 1 meal a day, right? And it's like, cool, yeah, that could work for some people. And if that works for you, that's awesome, hell yeah, but you actually need to build up the metabolic machinery to be able to do OMAD sustainably, right? Yeah. And that takes possible reverse dieting, right? Like that takes possible counting calories to figure out how many calories you need in your body. Yeah. It takes consistency on a few months, or more to be able to build the certain habits that you need and prioritize the certain nutrients and macronutrients that you need in order to sustain it for life. So all along my clients' journey with them, coaching them, I'm always asking them, do you feel like this is something you could keep doing forever? And I'm always looking for any sign that they're just like, I feel like I'm what is it like?
Like a little burnt out, or
yeah, either burnt out or like
they're not getting, or they're
restrictive. I feel restrictive,
yeah.
or if I'm sensing anything like that, I'm like, let's dive into that, because that's what I don't want, right? I want you to be able to feel like you can eat any foods that you want,
right?
But not without doing the groundwork, right? Like doing your kind of due diligence and eating good foods most of the time, right? Not good foods, quote unquote good foods, real foods, we should say. Like, you know, so I think along with that, like social media and like, you know, just the over consumption of information, I think comes with a hard adherence. Like it's hard for people to adhere to just living healthy. You know what I mean? Because they don't know what that looks like. So then that leads to them doing keto sometimes, them doing vegan, them doing intermittent fasting, right? And leading them to just general confusion rather than, hey, this is what you're doing for this amount of time. And that's how we're going to see what your body does when we do that and reacts to that. How you feel, how your energy is, how your digestion is. If your weight goes down, right? It's really funny. Almost all my clients, I literally prescribe them to eat. A lot of people, 3 meals a day, 2 pieces of fruit. And I got this from Jordan Syatt. He's a health and fitness coach. He's got great content, kind of Gary Vaynerchuk style, like, you know, cusses a lot and it's great. But that's what he said, is like, if someone comes to you and they're really, really overweight, really confused, anything like that, you just need to get them eating whole foods and eating 3 meals a day, 2 pieces of fruit for a while.
Oh, wow.
And get those wins going, right? And it's funny because when you make those 3 meals, nutrient-dense foods, healthy foods, right? Prioritize them. I like to say, you know, my holistic pillar number 1 is to eat close to the earth as possible. Eat real foods, right? 80% of the time, if we're focused on real foods and holistic, whole nutrient-dense foods, we're going to be good, right? So a lot of times it's getting people to eat more because they'll send me photos of what they're eating and it's just like, you know, you're eating like a bird and expecting to build like a human, you know what I mean? But it's like, nah, that we got to switch things up. So a lot of people are under eating, I think, truthfully, you know, and that was a big shock to me when I wanted to start putting muscle on. I had to realize you have to figure out how much you need to eat, you know what I mean? To actually become a new person. And so it goes both ways. If you're trying to gain muscle, if you're trying to lose fat, it goes both ways, you know what I mean? And it's confusing because not everyone has an understanding of metabolism, right? And how to hack that and how to manipulate it that way, because it sounds backward. If I tell you to eat more, you're going to be like, well, I'm going to gain weight. Well, you might not, because your body needs some more fuel and it's holding on to it. It's like trying to be in survival mode. Right. So it's I think just a lack of adherence, which brings or a lack of understanding, which brings confusion to people. And then I think that leads to like a lack of adherence because it's just so confusing. Yeah.
I think even as
it was a really long answer, so hope you got it. Hope you got it.
I think at the core of that is, it's true. You know, you can get really confused by all of the different health views out there, because you can literally find studies for veganism, for carnivore, for any work. And it's like they're all gonna have like stuff that shows they're right or they're wrong. And I think once again, kind of like a theme of what we're talking about is simplicity, right? Like you just come back to, you know, whatever your diet is, if you're omnivore, carnivore, vegan, whatever, it's like just try to eat like as clean as possible, like I said, close to the earth foods, and you know, the least amount of processing possible, you know, no sugar, hopefully, or no added sugar, I should say, no seed oils, like keeping it very simple. And like give yourself a window of eating and a window of not eating, you know, because obviously we don't want to like eat 16 hours of the day and then only sleep and then immediately wake up and eat. But like, I do also think that it's very complicated, because depending on what your goals are, that's going to really alter your diet. OMAD is not for someone trying to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah. Maybe at a certain point in their bodybuilding phases, right?
It maybe trying to like really define. Right. So, but for sure, because, you know, OMAD is like, maybe a person has really bad diabetes or cancer and they're trying to starve out the cancer itself, right? Maybe you try OMAD, you know what I mean, and go that route. Or and that's why I think finding a sustainable diet is so awesome that's what you do. And, I'm focused on that as well. But it is really, that's how you make the biggest changes in the future, because I know so many people who have literally, I said Jenny Craig because that's something that I know, sorry, no shade on anyone, but a few middle-aged women who are oh, I guess I gotta go do Jenny Craig again because I got summer coming up. It's like, dude, you could just have simple practices and never have to set foot in that place again, and you'd probably be way happier because of what you're eating. But it's just keep it simple. Just eat whole foods. And I personally try to keep at least a 12-hour minimum window of no eating so that my body does have that time to reset and digest. But that's great.
That's one of the first habits I nailed down with clients too, and I tell them this, everyone say, this is one of the things that you can take away from this program and live with the rest of your life. And that's to cut off your eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. It's just not for intermittent fasting purposes and all this autophagy and shit like that. It's mainly just for good sleep. Let's get your body, stop eating, get your body digesting that food so that you can focus, your body and your brain can focus on doing what it needs to do during sleep. You know what I mean? Just that and walking and eating real foods most of the time. If we could just nail those 3 things down, I think, and move your body a little more, right? Lift something heavy every once in a while. You can get a long way, I think.
So,
and it just comes down to adherence on all of those.
Sticking and being consistent. I think,
and making it just more of a lifestyle practice.
So I have another question for you, but before we move on, I really did want to mention, I think consistency is something you and I talk about a lot. And I feel like I have to talk about it all the time to keep reminding myself, but also everyone else that with a healthy lifestyle, it's a consistent thing, right? If I think the difference between going to a doctor, for example, and getting a pharmaceutical drug or something is you expect that pharmaceutical to work within the week, right? You take, I don't know, some pill, you're expecting a very fast reaction from that. But in changing your lifestyle through diet or even a supplement or something, and I'm thinking of my meditation that I was doing where I did it for 30 days. That consistency, it's if I were to only have meditated for a week and then just stopped, right? Or maybe I only did it once or 3 times in that week. The effect of that compared to doing it for a month every single day is so different. And with I've even experienced it with supplements or holistic or food-based supplements where you can't just take it for a week and then expect these massive changes. You got to go a month or two, consistent every single day, and then you will see the changes. It's pretty wild, but
100%.
Did you have anything on the consistency? Oh, sorry,
I did, but I forget it.
Got it. No worries.
I did. Maybe it'll come back to me.
No, it's all right. And that's okay. I have another topic. So we'll if you think about it, come back to it. But so I know one thing that is, I think most guys and some girls as well are really interested in is what are your best tips for someone who wants to put on muscle? As someone who went through this phase of putting on 20 pounds of muscle, what I don't know, let's say 3 things of
Man, I think people, I don't think people realize how resilient the body is and how much you can actually push it. You know what I mean? Safely, right? Safely push it and really force it to adapt. You know what I mean? And so a couple of tips I'd say is, for me, my experience was you got to learn how much you need to eat, right? In order, like I said earlier, in order to build a new body, we got to feed that new body, right? If I want to put on 20 pounds of muscle, we're going to need to up that protein intake, right? So a good rule of thumb is if you're tracking your protein, good rule of thumb is 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. So a desired body weight. So if I'm trying to get up to 200, I'm going to start eating 200 grams of protein. I'm going to work my way up to that, maybe even 220, 230. So And then you have to, of course, working out and stuff like that, that all comes into play. But yeah, learning how much you need to eat, right? Staying consistent with that, because one day you might hit 180 grams of protein. Next day it might be 150. But once you start tracking that and actually hitting that day after day after day, that's when you get the results. That's when you start to force your body, force your metabolism, force your muscles to actually start to grow. But you also have to strength train, like for sure. If you want to put on muscle, strength training, I'd say is it. Resistance training is it. And it doesn't have to be, like for weight loss, a lot of times if I have a client who's, hasn't worked out in a long time, I'm not going to get them in the gym just yet. Like I'm going to get them doing some body weight stuff, squats, lunges, freaking push-ups, working their way up to be able to have some that's enough resistance for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in order to force the body to adapt, we're going to need to manipulate it with some training, right? So you can do that by, if you have limited equipment, like I had for a while, like I put on about 15 pounds of muscle with the same set of, I think I had a 60-pound kettlebell, 35 and a 20, and I had two 35-pound dumbbells and a weight vest.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my setup this whole past year. And then once I got a gym membership, I was like, oh, hell yeah, we're getting after it. Now I got all the tools, you know what I mean? I got no excuses. So I started going really heavy on squats, which I'll get into. So if you have the same similar, very minimal equipment and you can't really change your weights, right? It's not like you're sitting there with a barbell and you can add the weights, right? So you're going to want to add reps, right? So there's a few ways to build muscle and hypertrophy, which you've talked about before, right? Getting the reps. You want to increase the time under tension. So that means either slowing down, right, and increasing that time that muscle is under that load,
right,
or increasing the rep range, or both.
Okay.
Right. So personally, I do a mix of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be very well adapted to any type of movement, almost. You know what I mean? So adding more. So if you have limited equipment with only so much weight, you're gonna want to do more reps. So instead of if you realize that down the line 3 sets of 10 was pretty easy, why not try 4 sets of 15 next week? You know what I mean? Or 4 sets of 20, right? And you need to be, those last reps, you need to be struggling. You know what I mean? Like I always like to think of your lifting face. If your lifting face is just kind of chilling, you know, and you're just kind of not really breaking a sweat, you ain't really lifting. You're not really forcing your muscles to adapt.
Right.
But if you're right, your face starts to grunt, start to get a little grimacing, that's a good indication that you're forcing your body to adapt.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to help. So there's that way. And then if you do have access to a gym, you're going to want to add the weight. You want to add, you can add the reps at the similar or same weight range, or you can start to progressively overload over time, like say a 12-week period or so. You're going to want to add weight to the bar. So you're going to want to force your body, forcing it to make it stronger, to rip the muscles, to open up the new capillaries, to force the body to adapt. And then that's a real place for all the protein to go. So I saw a significant jump in body weight and body mass, specifically my legs and my core, shoulders, and chest once I started upping the weight a little more.
Interesting.
So makes sense. But also comes with a little bit of, there's a little bit more risk for injury as well, right? Especially if you're not doing certain things, warming up properly and stuff like that, and making sure you're working your joints through a full range of motion and stuff like that. So yeah, either up your weights or up your reps, start throwing a little more weight on the bar, little by little. Maybe it's 5 pounds this week, maybe it's 10 pounds next week. And you got to figure out how much you need to eat.
Yeah.
Right? That is important. So important. If you want to change your body, you need to eat to feed that new body.
Yeah.
So those are honestly probably 2 of the biggest tips. Yeah.
So break them down again for me. Well,
just learning how much your body you need to eat.
Okay.
So in order to force that, right? In order can't eat.
Feed that new body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then either if you don't have access to a full gym, right, where you can throw on extra weights, you need to up your reps, right, and up your time under tension.
Yeah.
And then if you do have access to a gym, or throwing on more weights or adding more weights or buying more weights or whatever, you need to start adding more weight, right?
Gotcha.
So if you even with kettlebells, if you're doing, squats with 2 kettlebells and they're only 20 pounds. See if you can work your way up to 235s. See if you work your way up to 160 pounds, right? And so just add more weight. You have to force your body. And I would say also, if you want to build muscle, to sprint.
Yeah.
Straight up. Yeah. Sprinting is by far one of the best things you can do. It is the most primal thing you can do to release human growth hormone in the body. Like their HIIT workouts are great, yada yada. Going all out sprint like you are a wild animal chasing for something after, you know what I mean? Something's chasing you. Whatever you have to do to put yourself in a state of mind to get yourself to sprint at an all out level is going to hands down increase muscle mass for sure.
You said it also increases growth hormone,
Human
right?
growth hormone. Yeah. Something like 300 to 700%.
Just off of sprinting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll forget that I was like, oh shit, I haven't done sprints in a while.
Yeah.
And I'll go do them. Yeah. I'll do 5 or 6. Next day, almost every muscle in my body is like sore. And I'm just like, damn, that's why I like sprints.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's super important.
Now, for example, let's
and that could be sprinting on like a bicycle.
Okay.
It could be sprinting on a rowing machine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I've been working my parents up to that. We just started getting them on the rowing machine. And just go, intervals, right? Like go 20 seconds hard.
Yeah.
And then slow down. Just literally walking pace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For 2 minutes, a minute, 2 minutes. To let yourself fully recover and then go hard again.
Right.
You want to be able to give 100% all-out effort.
Like a little HIIT workout kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I know for, a lot of people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they start getting those knee problems and stuff, and running starts to become kind of what, a life or if it is truly a life or death situation, then do it. But so cycling, rowing, something that's softer on the joints is also
something
a great.
You can go all out.
Cool. Okay. And a full body kind of movement too. Huh?
Yeah. So cycling, you could do it cycling, sprinting. You could probably do it on elliptical. I don't think I've ever been on an elliptical. Yeah, I don't think I've ever used an elliptical. Yeah.
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 But probably even just trying to go full out on an elliptical could work.
Yeah, you could.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Just pushing past a little bit out of your comfort zone, so important.
Okay.
For that forced adaptation. You're trying to force your body to become new.
Yeah.
Right? You need to force it out of that comfort zone just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, Caleb. Now
eating, man. Gotta eat. Man.
It seems like a big theme is eating.
If you want to put on muscle, man, you gotta eat.
Cool. So I also wanted to ask, I got 2 more loaded in the barrel right now.
Oh, man.
First one is I always preface this. So we're going to get into supplements right now.
Okay.
But before I go into that, I always say this, like with anything. Before you worry about your supplements, get your food right.
Get that diet locked in. Eat real foods, man.
Best supplement is a good diet. Like there's nothing that's going to beat that. Like literally, there's nothing that's going to give you more of the vitamins and minerals and enzymes and everything than the food you eat.
Yep.
Now, moving past that, when you get into supplements, because there are certain supplements that I do think are pretty important, and especially if you're low in those, that's obviously important. But I personally, I like to try to keep my supplements as whole food form as possible. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but I wanted to ask you, what are some supplements, just a couple, and that you have really found to be beneficial, from mental health to building muscle to just whatever.
Cool. Good, good question. So absolutely nail down your diet. Honestly, eat lots of protein. If you're not vegan, or no matter what your diet is, I think protein is essential. If it's an animal form, you're getting in a lot of amino acids, and you're also getting in creatine, which is I'm going to explain next. Is probably my top recommended supplement for sure. Is creatine. Not just for bodybuilders, not just for Olympic athletes, not just for athletes. Literally for everybody. I had my parents on it. Like we're at a point in sports science and like nutrition science where creatine is the most researched supplement on the market, hands down. One of the safest things you can take. Creatine monohydrate, just go get some on Amazon. It's amazing. So good for you. Will help you store help your cells at a cellular level generate more energy, specifically during strength training and stuff like that, but also in the general lifestyle, right? You're going to be more of an efficient machine if you have creatine in your body, and it's something that our creatine mechanisms that in our body, we produce less of it as we get older.
Okay.
Now it's really interesting. It's not just for building muscle. It helps you stay hydrated more. It helps your cells actually hold water better. This is really cool. It's awesome. Great. It also helps with energy output. So if you're resistance training, helps you get the most out of your resistance training. You feel like you have another gear, I like to kind of say. It's not like pre-workout-y. It's just randomly will hit you. You'll be like, damn, I feel like that set was pretty easy.
Yeah.
I got another gear. You know what I mean? You're like, that's that creatine possibly. But it's also really good for the gut lining. It is an amino acid. It's amino acid. So it's really good for the gut lining. It's really good for the brain. They're using it in clinical studies to treat Alzheimer's and cognitive function in the brain, stuff like that. So across the board, especially if you've been following a plant-based diet, like I was for years, getting creatine in my diet was life-changing, hands down. Helped me put on muscle, helped me maintain muscle, helped my brain fog, fatigue, everything. So hands down, I think creatine is probably one of the best supplements, like synthetic form.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which even it's an amino acid, so I'm not exactly sure what it's made out of, but yeah.
Right, like where it's derived from or whatever.
Yeah. Other than that, man, I think along with the theme of my life lately was been simplicity.
Yeah.
I've also done away with a lot of supplements.
I think that's
I'm just
good.
kind of like, what? Let me simplify, right? So I think for me, I've really dialed in. I think magnesium is really smart for just about everybody because a lot of people are deficient in it and they don't even know it.
Like one of the most deficient minerals, I think.
It could be something as subtle as an eye twitch. It could be something as subtle as a little bit of brain fog in the day or sleep disruption or problems digesting food, right? So including comprehensive magnesium supplement, like a complex with multiple different types of magnesium in it, I think is really good. So that's one I recommend. And then a fish oil. I think fish oil or some type of omega-3 is going to be critical because that's like brain food.
Yeah.
It's good for the brain, right? It's good for every cell in the body. Every single cell in our body is wrapped in the fat that we consume.
Yeah.
And I think it was Dr. Mark Hyman, who I originally heard say that. And it's awesome. When I train harder, I take like 2 to 3 times the amount of supplements or of fish oil that I take, just because I know my body is demanding more, and the recommended dose on there is just a recommendation. And so I always like to play with why not double it or quadruple it? We were kind of talking about that earlier. And the thing with creatine and supplements in general is, again, consistency and adherency. So making it as simple as possible. You're not going to see the best results if you just take it every other day, every few days, when you remember, things like that.
Yeah.
Creatine especially, you need to actually saturate the muscles for like 3 weeks or something like that. Some people say there's a loading phase, but you don't really need to do that. You just need to take it consistently day after day, even on your rest days, to saturate the muscles. That way your muscles are able to get it in and absorb it. So same thing with all supplements. You got to stay consistent with them. So that's like, a lot of some of my clients, it'll be like, hey, you taking your vitamins, taking your supplements, and they're like, no, I've been forgetting. It's like, okay, well, let's get them every day. You know? And so it's a habit that we need to build. Other than that, I think for immune health, cellular function, vitamin D has been critical. I think that's really important to include. And also, and you turned me on to this, zinc and copper. And since then, I haven't gotten any flu, any colds or anything like that. I actually feel myself every once in a while will start to get something, but my immune system's really strong and it'll kick it out pretty quick. It's pretty cool. And I think that's really due to the copper and zinc. And then obviously vitamin D is like a hormone, so it's super critical. So that's probably, honestly, that's my supplements right now. And I do take like an amino acid supplement just for more, I take
muscle repair.
Essential amino acids, right? Just for more muscle repair and everything. But eating your protein, you get a lot of amino acids. You're rebuilding muscles. Protein isn't like a fuel source; it's a rebuilding source for your protein synthesis in your body. So carbs is more of like a fuel source.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, creatine, a fish oil, magnesium, vitamin D, and then I think zinc and copper. And I do love like medicinal mushrooms as well.
Yeah.
So like lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily part of like my everyday thing, but I like they're great.
Yeah.
They have a really good place. Just like we had some today. You know, it's like feeling good, energized. You know? So yeah, I think that's probably the quick rundown
of major supplements.
Because I'm thinking of other supplements like spirulina and chlorella.
Right.
Even the mushrooms, I don't consider them supplements. Those are foods. Yeah. So it's kind of like supplements.
Yeah.
Even like whey protein, right? It's not. I don't really think it's a supplement. It's like sure, it's a protein supplement to supplement additional protein into your diet, but for the most part, I don't think it's like a supplement. It's food.
Yeah. It is. I think. For example, also just to say it for those of you who don't know, take vitamin D3 with K2.
There you go.
Always got to pair those two. But aside from that, 100% agree on every single one of those. And I agree. I like most of my supplements are like a food, literally, right?
Yeah.
So spirulina and chlorella, like you mentioned, is stupid incredible. Does a lot of great things. Catherine Arnston was on and spoke about an hour's worth long of all the benefits. Like it's awesome. Incredible. And then the mushrooms are they're a food as well. And to me, with the mushrooms, they're super powerful. But once again, it's one of those things like you really have to be so consistent with it to notice it. And I remember when I noticed the biggest difference was with lion's mane. And I took it for about like a month straight. Every single day would take it. And man, your mental clarity, it's super weird. It's like it happens so subtly that you don't realize it. But I was really keeping tabs on it. And I remember by like day 30, I was like, dude, my mental clarity like is on every day. It's not, there's like not a day of brain fog and like recalling facts or someone's name or whatever, like was just like right there. And you never had to like, give me a second, like it'll come to me. You know what I mean? Like it was always there.
Word recognition, or what is it?
Word recall, right? No, for real. But I love the mushrooms, like hands down, probably some of my favorite food supplements. But and then the last question I had for you, Caleb, was oh
man, firing off them questions. Dang, dude.
You and I, we talk a lot about, especially you talk a lot about primal and ancestor stuff, right? Primal everything. But I think there's a really good reason for that. And I mean, I have my ideas and I want to hear yours. And so for all the listeners, why is it a good idea to, like, when thinking about a health trend, maybe like a diet or any kind of those practices, like I personally, and I know you do as well, think of it in terms of like, okay, so this is what people are doing now. How, like, did we do that 10,000 years ago? Or 5,000, like however far we can go back? Like, did we do that then? And then, kind of trying to compare the two and like see how they fit. And why is that a good idea?
Man, I think that's really, I could give a really long answer and we could like really go down some rabbit holes. But
Joe Rogan long type episode.
Man, I think we have to like keep in mind that why we have a bunch of things, right? And so this is kind of like why do we have so many processed foods? Why do we have so many supplements? Why do we have so many things to consume? So many restaurants, all these things, right? A lot of it is for fun and pleasure and stuff like that, and that's cool. But also a lot of it is for overconsumption, right? That's how I love that podcast you put out that was overconsumed and undernourished. Right? And that's exactly what's happened, right? The only way we gain weight and get unhealthy is we eat too much of the wrong foods. We eat too many calories. We don't move enough, right? It's simply down to science of not putting enough output and too much input of, foods. You truthfully could be relatively healthy and eat at a calorie deficit and truthfully eat whatever you want, right? Because calories in, calories out type of thing. But then I like to think, well, I've always thought we were animals. As a kid, I was always like, we are animals, and like we're no different than, like, yes, we are the most dominant species. We're not fucking monkeys. We're not birds, right? Yeah. We're not an animal. We're human. Yeah. But what was it like for our ancestors? You know what I mean? And definitely they had less disease. Obviously, they didn't have the more advanced medicine practices and stuff like that to knock out diseases and stuff. So they died relatively younger, but they did a lot of ancestors would live to 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? It's just they had different life factors and more realistic death to face, right? So going back to that overconsumption, it's like, well, these things we have designed them to be overeaten, right? We designed chips. Everything about a chip is designed for overconsumption. Yeah. From the price of it, to the way the bag looks, to the taste, to the smell, to the crunch, to the molecules that it's made of to affect your gut, to affect your brain, to make you crave it more. Yeah. Everything, right? So what's in that is a lot of, sure, we can call it like capitalistic, ideals or whatever, to buy more because it's cheap, to eat more because it's cheap, things like that. But to what detriment, right? So it's just always to come back to real foods. That's what our ancestors did. They ate vegetables, they ate fruits, they ate seeds, they ate freaking meat, they ate, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think the more, and truthfully, I'm like a living product of it, and I'm like, my clients love following this lifestyle. Is like, can't we just adhere to eating real food most of the time, right? Yeah. Yeah. Can we even do that without having to worry about calories? You know what I mean? Can we do that by developing healthy eating habits so that we're satiated and not over full? Because that's kind of something that our ancestors probably did. They probably didn't overeat like crazy. For one, they had to ration a little bit maybe. And if you overeat, you're lethargic, you're drained of energy. Yeah. You're not going to be able to run away from a prey or something really fast. So it's kind of meat on a stick. You're just kind of like a lethargic sitting there. Oh, let me just get attacked by something. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. I really think we're at an interesting time in history where we can combine the two. You know what I mean? The kind of modern science of dieting and health and nutrition and stuff with these ancestral kind of ideals that we have. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting to me to look back into it. I think it's cool, the whole ancestral kind of knowledge. They were a lot more connected spiritually to the earth. They were connected more to their food. Obviously, they were hunting it and foraging it and stuff like that and growing it. So I just think I find it fascinating, dude. Yeah. And like, the more we can just simplify it, right? And like get away from the complexities, get away from over consuming, I think it just frees up a lot of freedom in our choice. Yeah. And ultimately in our economy, right? It's like, what kind of economy do we want to have? Your dollar is a vote to every single thing you put in your mouth, everything you go and buy, right? It's fun to go out, have drinks. It's cool. Absolutely, right? Like, we just went out for St. Patty's Day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, let's go out, let's have some junk food. Let's go do that. Yeah. But then the next day, what did we do? We cooked breakfast. We made our own coffee. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So not saying you have to be ultra religious about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. You could go out, you could have McDonald's and still prioritize the right foods. You know? Yeah, yeah. If you have to, go to McDonald's and order some chicken breasts. Right, right. You know what I mean? Right. So, again, you could follow like an ancestral lifestyle eating in a modern world. Yeah. So I think it's just fun, honestly. I think it's fun. I think it's a different approach to health, and like, I think it's just a lot more connected to nature. And I think the closer that we live to that is the more in harmony we could be with not only ourselves, our spirits, but also the collective, you know, and the human race, you know. And it sounds kind of woo-woo, but it's real.
It is, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I also 100% agree. And I think the only thing I would add to that is I know that biology takes time to evolve. Yeah. You know, it like literally, if you've been living your life in a way for, 5,000 years, and then you change it like drastically in 100 years.
Within a decade.
Yeah. Like that's a very short amount of time for your biology to adapt to a new diet, a new lifestyle, you know. So that's why I always like, I'll think,
and we don't have to go back so far.
No,
it's like literally our grandparents, dude.
I mean,
go back a generation or two where there was less refrigeration, there was less transportation, there's a lot less obese people,
for sure.
Less health concerns, cardiovascular diseases.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like they were just eating more real food.
Yeah,
they had less processed
moving
food.
More.
Go walk down the chip aisle. Right now, how many different types of chips are there?
A whole aisle.
How many different,
like
how many
literally
different chip companies? Are
there?
You know what I mean?
They make you think there's a lot. They're probably all owned by just like one or two. But No,
you walk
see
down the aisle back then, it was like 3, 4. You know?
Yeah. Or I mean, even
and those were a treat.
For sure. That's the other aspect of it is the amount and like, of course there was bad stuff 100 years ago, but how often did people have it?
Yeah.
And
that bad stuff was probably less processed because less, you know.
Just so much goes into it. And I think that's why I really like going and comparing like modern life and how we live it today compared to back in the day. And I think you can really find so much value in it from literally, you know, like thinking of technology, because that's a really easy one to use. It's like, we didn't have cell phone, like, you know, we didn't have these screens in front of our faces all the time. I mean, 40 years ago, you know, like not even long. But so when we look at that and we see like, okay, what are all these implications? Well, sleep is screwed. We can see that. Like, you know how many people have issues getting to bed? You know how many people have sleep apnea? Like just so much. And it's like, if you took that phone and never used it, it would probably fix so much of it, or even just, you know, the light. But so I love being able to just look at it in that frame and think like, okay, was this around back then? If it was, like, how would it have been used and all that? So yeah,
it's cool. And you know, through my health coaching practice and my certification and stuff, and I'm biased, right? Like I'm biased to that ancestral way. Like I have my holistic pillars of health that I coach my clients through and interweave into their lives and stuff like that. And it just gets to a point where it's fun. You know what I mean? And it's not like dogmatic. It's like, no, you can be on your phone, but let's just be conscious of how it affects us both negatively and positively. Right? Like social media is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
Some good stuff with it.
We're able to reach thousands of people with this conversation that we're having. Just 2 people in a room, you know what I mean? But we can put it on the interweb and it goes off to thousands of people. That's awesome. So being aware, right? And like conscious of the negative and the positive of certain things, you know? And I don't know where I was going with that, but.
No. I think just like you said, like knowing that, like even with the modern stuff, it's like you don't have to go completely primal on it. You can have a medium point.
You ain't got to go Liver King on it.
No. There's a balance to everything. Please don't go Liver King on it.
please don't do that.
But yeah, man, I think that's pretty much all the questions I had for you.
I just had a thought too, like back onto what you asked earlier, like just a couple tips or whatever, is just gaining control in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Controlling what goes on your plate is huge. And I think that's just a fun thing too, that we need to try and work on bringing more peace and more connection and more excitement to, rather than stress, right? Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I got a meal prep Sundays, I got to meal prep this. It doesn't have to be that hard. It could be just making twice as much as you make for the next day or something like that. But overall, controlling what ingredients go on your plate is really cool. It's really fun. It's really controlling. It's really, you feel satisfied. You feel in control of that habit and that ritual. And it's also a new connection to your food, which I think is really important, because now we think of, you know, kids are growing up thinking that food is the bags and a chip, is Jolly Ranchers, is just a steak that shows up on the plate or whatever. But when you go to the butcher shop and you have to go through the certain things, you know what I mean? When you go, and if you can grow some of your own food, you know, be just getting more connected to the food that goes on your plate is pretty fun. And it's just more of an exciting way to go about dieting and nutrition. And you can make your own meals forever. You know, that's a sustainable thing. You know what I mean? You don't have to make every single meal, but maybe you can make lunch starting out, you know what I mean? Or breakfast every day starting out, you know what I mean? So yeah, I wanted to mention that.
Cook at home, dude.
Yeah, cook at home. Control the ingredients that go on your plate.
It's the best way to know that you're eating healthy. Yeah,
make it yourself. Marcus Philly from Functional Bodybuilding, really good content that he puts out. We're not brothers, I swear. He has
look
he has
like
long hair. We both kind of look Neanderthalish. But he says to cook with at least try to keep it under 5 ingredients.
Yeah,
for gut health.
Cool. Yeah,
I was like, that's a cool rule, right? So just like you could include that, spices included in that too. Just simple. It doesn't have to taste like shit.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't. My meals taste amazing.
Yeah,
and I make them super simple.
Yeah,
you know.
No, absolutely.
Not that I'm like the poster child of cooking or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, man.
Good deal. I love it, Caleb.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. Feel free to share anything else, and also just where people can connect with you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like you're super active on all the socials, so share it.
Yeah. Caleb Wood Fitness on everything: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I'm on all of them. So hit me up, Facebook, whatever. Mainly use TikTok and Instagram for the most part. TikTok, and a little bit of YouTube.
Okay. Yep.
You can look forward. I'm trying to get some more like long form content out on YouTube. Right now I'm just kind of doing the short form stuff with little tips and tricks here and there. But I want to start doing some little more educational stuff. Kind of sit down, really dissect some some topics and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, go follow the YouTube page. Help me grow that. That'd be cool. Other than that, Caleb Wood Fitness. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Reach out if you have any questions. Holistic health and fitness coaching. That's pretty much it.
And that's what I was gonna say. If you don't mention it, he's an incredible coach. I've known him for a really long time now, and I can attest to what he does. His clients are a living testimony. You can go see it on his page, the work that you do, and get in touch with him. If you're dealing with any health issues, of course you can reach out to either of us just for questions. But if you're serious about getting healthy and changing a lifestyle, developing these practices for a sustainable period of time, the rest of your life, basically, highly recommend. Reach out to Caleb. Ask him about his programs. He's super easy, not a pressing guy and not in your face. So you can actually ask him a question and he's not going to shove a quote down your throat. He's going to talk to you and be like, hey, let's just see if we're a good fit. So check him out. Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff. Thanks for coming on the show again. Yeah, and dude, just thank you for being a brother, dude.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
As always, man.
Always, dude. So happy to have you here. Yeah. So cool. Everybody, you know the deal. Do everything with good intentions. Connect to your elements. Stay primal. I don't know what's.
Eat real food.
Eat real food, yeah. And simplify. I think that was the
simplify, man.
Kind of a core principle of today's episode. I like it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, brother.
All right, everybody. Much love. Subscribe, follow, all the good stuff. Leave a comment. Let us know what you liked and didn't like, and try to get better. Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.